welcome back everyone. This is Mr. Brain, your friendly neighborhood gaming dad, here with another hero breakdown video. And with the new heroes that have come out, I thought it best to go ahead and break these down as best I can, even though I am an infantry main. So keep that in mind as I analyze these heroes for you. First one is going to be Eagle Hunter Jacob. Now, if you watched my Commander First Look on both of the new heroes, you know that I'm both skeptical and optimistic about how well he can be used in combat. And once I go over him, you'll see why. We're going to go into his skills, different ways he's going to be used in combat, a good talent tree build for him, and what commanders you're likely going to see him paired with. Now, let's get into it. First skill, really like this. It's built a lot like Lewis. Direct deals damage to up to 3 enemies, up to 12,500 damage in a fan-shaped area in the front. That's about a 90-degree fan. And increases own counter damage by 23% for 3 seconds. Counter damage on a ranged commander pretty much guarantees they're going to be garrisoning something, because counter damage for ranged troops is kind of pointless, because they're too squishy to be able to fight back effectively. So this gives credence to the garrison abilities for this commander. Damage taken by each enemy squad reduces by 15% for every additional target. Now, I haven't sat down and done the math, but I know that his base damage already is higher than Lewis's awakened damage, which means he's hitting 1, 2, and 3 enemies harder than Lewis does on just his active skill alone. I believe Lewis, without being awakened, is at 10,000, and awakened is at 12,000. But he can hit 5 enemies, and he still has that 15% damage debuff. So at no point is Lewis hitting someone harder than Jacob, just factoring in the skill. So this is part of the reason I've been so interested in him. He can hit harder than Lewis does. Second skill, increases ranged squad HP by 20%. This seems kind of silly. Now, I complained about this in my first look, about him this is the only ranged squad buff that he has, whereas you have other commanders of an equal level. For example, Eddie, giving an infantry squad defense and infantry squad HP, so a total of 60%. And here Jacob is with only this 20%. However, he makes up for it. Increasing garrison squad damage by 7.5%. Increasing damage is already huge. There's a reason Bella is loved so much, because of all the different deals 24% more damage to squads with shield effect. Increases damage dealt to squads when its remaining squad size is less than 30%. Leading rider squads, 15%. There's a reason those damage buffs are so amazing, because they're hard to come by. And he has a nice 7.5% when he's garrisoning. Still minor compared to what else he can do. This one deals damage to up to 3 nearby enemy squads, damage factor 2,000 every 8 seconds. Now, just so you can get it in your mind correctly, 2,000 is about a round of combat. You'll deal skill damage of 2,000 is about how much damage you would deal in a normal round of combat. So, he's dealing an additional round of combat to 3 squads every 8 seconds. And if garrisoning, those squads have their attack reduced by 17% for 2 seconds. So another garrison skill. However, because both of these they aren't completely locked to garrisoning, he can still deal this damage in open field. It just won't get the attack debuff. This one, you'll lose out on the damage, but you'll get the ranged squad HP. So I like that he's not locked into it. So, honestly, really nice. He's going to deal additional skill damage every 8 seconds, and there's no chance of silencing this, avoiding it. If you're fighting him, every 8 seconds, it's going to happen. And just a note, these kind of numbers are affected by skill damage buffs and all damage buffs specifically. So this 7.5 does come into play. And then you have his fourth skill, which is, honestly, this is going to be the second one you upgrade. Increases all damage by 16% if the remaining squad size is more than 50%. Increases all damage by 20% if the remaining squad size is less than 30%. Now, if you can manage to keep him in that sweet spot between 30 and 50, you can hurt him without him hurting you too much. But that's not going to happen. If he's on the open field, he's got a 16% increase in damage. And that hurts. A 16% increase in damage is about equivalent to a 45% increase in attack power, if you need similar stat buff numbers to compare it to. So having that buff already is huge, and in the open field, once he drops to 50%, he's likely going to be backing off anyway. So you're not going to get to fight him when he's not hitting you with full strength. If you do happen to get him down to 30%, kudos, you'll probably kill him quickly. But while he's in garrison, you're going to get an additional 4% damage because you got him below 30% in a garrison situation. So that's a lot of damage. So you can kind of see he makes up for that paltry range squad attack by giving every troop under his command an amazing damage buff. Let's get to his awakened skill. This one's a little underwhelming, but I'm still okay with it. Deals damage to up to 3 enemies, 13,750, making him one of the most powerful single target damage dealers, as well as arguably the best 2 and 3 target damage dealers. I think Chun still hasn't beat because hers doesn't reduce, hers actually increases if it's only one target. Double check that now. Yeah, Chun has her damage factor of 12,000 on a single... No, it's not even that. Yeah, her damage factor is 2 targets for 13,000, so she doesn't have the 15% debuff, and she can hit a single target for 25% harder. So yeah, still a bit weaker than Chun on 1 and 2 targets, but he has the damage buffs for all damage. Basic attacks, counter attacks, and skill damage. So let's be honest. With all of those damage buffs not being locked to a single troop type, he's a garrison commander. Can you use him in the open field or in arena and abuse that AoE? Absolutely. But if he plays out like I think he's going to be one of those switch in commanders for garrisons. If you've seen some of the island raid videos that I've posted, you'll know that a lot of the higher up islands have set up garrison captains within towers that are capable of switching depending on the situation. So if you're getting hit by a single target, you have one set of heroes. If you're getting swarmed, you have a different set of heroes, depending on what's best for the situation. I think Eagle Hunter Jacob is going to be really good for 1, 2, and 3 target situations, and then you would switch out for Lewis for 4 and 5. So you can also use him in the field with another high skill damage commander. I'm thinking Chun, but I'll discuss that a little bit later. So open field ranged, a full range team, and as a secondary. And then a secondary in a garrison situation. Now, as far as talents, I think he's going to be a secondary commander. He doesn't increase damage for any of his assistants. He doesn't have talent trees that allow him to do that. The skill talent tree can increase skill damage for your assistant after you've dealt skill damage, and he doesn't have that. He can be an alternate as a garrison captain main with this talent tree setup, but he's going to be a secondary. However, if you're going to have him lead in a ranged situation, I would suggest maxing out that range tree and get as much damage as you possibly can, and make sure you're getting as much rage as you can. So you want to try and get as much rage and damage as possible. Because he deals that passive damage every 8 seconds, it's going to be an odd trade. I'm going to talk with some of my alliance mates that pick him up in a couple of weeks and see which one works out better, whether it's maxing out rage or maxing out attack power, because the range tree is heavily focused on attack. But we will see. Now, as far as pairs, because of the counter damage buff, I do see Thunder Jacob working really well. The counter damage that he gets from... where is it? Yes, increase in counter damage while garrisoned would pair really well with Jacob's counter damage. And Jacob gives Thunder some much needed attack power that Lewis was giving him before. If you needed something more defensive, you can switch to another infantry commander, but with Thunder, you can kind of shore up that missing attack power with someone that hits hard, and the original choice was Lewis. I think Jacob can replace him, which is kind of sad to see if Lewis does get replaced. But the only thing I'm skeptical about there is the fact that Lewis is extremely hard to avoid his AoE. If you decide to swarm Jacob, you can have 3 or 4 people hit him from behind and be completely outside of Jacob's AoE. Now, you still have to deal with the counter damage, but that you would be avoiding his 13,000 skill damage and his 2,000 passive damage entirely. So that's going to be interesting to see from a garrison perspective. As far as in the open field, pairing him with someone that can either boost his skill damage and attack power, increasing skill damage by 25%. Lewis might not be bad here because he does have the skill tree. Lee is also going to have that AoE debuff to really hammer home his Jacob's damage. So you've got options in the open field for using Jacob. I do feel like Jacob's still going to be secondary to any of these picks, though. And that's my breakdown of Jacob. He's going to be interesting to see when he unlocks in a couple of weeks. So I will try and keep you all updated on my Discord channel on how well that's working out. But we will see. If you're just now seeing this on my YouTube page, just know that you could have gotten this 24 hours sooner over on my Patreon page. I drop everything over there about a day early, so head on over there, support me, and get all of this content just a little bit sooner than everybody else. With that, this is Mr. Brain, your friendly neighborhood gaming dad, signing off.